Juuse Saros and the Finnish team had a rough night last night in the Four Nations tournament. On today's show, we're going to talk about Nashville's situation in net and talk about what NHL insider Elliot Friedman shared from the Four Nations Finnish locker room that has us concerned about something else besides Juuse Saros' play on the ice.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Friday episode, y'all, shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and a co-host at Penalty Box Radio. And friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Emma, a lot to talk about on this show, of course. We are loving the Four Nations face-off. Last night, a little bit rough for Predators goaltender Juuse Saros and Team Finland. They lost 6-1 to Team USA. We know Juuse Saros' play of late has been a topic of discussion in a season that has the Predators near the bottom of the league. On today's show, we're going to tell you what we have learned from the Four Nations tournament and talk about the one thing we heard that has us maybe a little concerned about something else besides Saros' play on ice. Of course, we would be remiss not to wish all of our listeners a happy Valentine's Day. I'm not going to tell you the exact number of minutes and seconds that Emma and I debated this, but we had a whole thing going this morning about how the youngins make the heart shape. Is this? No, that's not even right. What is it now?
No, that's it.
No, you're right. This
is the way the youngins do it, and it hurts their hands.
So we're talking about like our age group, you know, the ones that have lived long enough to know how to do things efficiently. We make the heart shape with both of our hands and our fingers, and then the youngins do, what is it? Do it again, Emma. Yeah, index fingers and middle fingers. Our generation used the middle fingers for other things besides hearts. Some people did. Emma and I did not, in case our moms are listening. Emma and I did not do that.
Nope.
Ever. But yeah, we were talking about that. We're like, you know, the way kids these days make the heart shape with their index and middle fingers is just ridiculous. There's a much more efficient way to throw somebody a heart. So we're just throwing y'all little hand hearts today. Hope you're having a great Valentine's Day. And friends, it's Friday. So we got that going for us in February. Gray, rainy February here in Nashville. Got some things we got to talk about. Some of them feel a little gray and rainy. But let's talk about the Four Nations game last night. Finland versus USA. And for those of us that cover Juuse Saros, it felt like a heart divided. Because, of course, you know, USA. But then you see Saros. It's almost virtually impossible to find any sort of thing about Juuse Saros not to like, because he's just a good person. He's just good folk. It looked like it was going to be a close game, Emma. It was a 2-1 score, USA up after 2 periods. Finland got on the board first. We were like, ooh, here it comes. Look at this. And then can we just say, and I was like, oh, Finland, have you been watching the Nashville Predators this season? Finland commits a penalty with like 2.2 seconds left in the second period. Why? Have you not learned from watching the Nashville Predators in the NHL that only bad things happen when you do that? And of course, USA carried over that power play time, scored, and then just scored, 23 seconds later, and it just became a whole thing. In the end, of course, USA scored 6 goals. I think 2 power play goals, Emma, or 3. I can't remember.
I think it was 2.
Was it 2? Yeah,
2.
Several. Really fun to watch power play goals.
Listen, if Mike Sullivan's offensive strategy was simply one sentence and it was let the Kachucks run wild, then A+. It worked. It worked fabulously. 6 goals. 4 of them were scored by a Kachuk.
Yes.
So with Jack Eichel in the middle. And I mean,
Kachuk, Eichel, Kachuk. That has to become the name of something lethal. Because that line was incredible. When they put them together, it was like, oh, stop it already.
Make it stop.
Make it stop. I mean, I'm from America, and I'm like, stop my eyes. And
I know.
Look, here's what's real. Like, love Team USA. The Kachucks are an acquired taste. They're a little bit like black licorice for me. But oh my gosh, those boys can play some hockey. Like Emma said, 4 of the 6 goals were Kachuk goals. Interesting. You had Saros versus Connor Hellebuck. The first goal that Finland scored was kind of tipped, and that is basically how you get a goal past Connor Hellebuck. A couple of the Saros goals were also tips. And look, not making excuses. This is what's real. The Finnish defense was it's the least stout. They also had injuries to a couple of the players who were really supposed to backbone the blue line for Finland. So again, Juuse Saros is like, oh, I've read this story. I know how this ends.
I've been here before.
And you know what? I have to tell you, I was really a little bit distraught about it in the sense that I'm like, Juuse Saros deserves a palate cleanse. And the situation at the Four Nations in the first game just did not provide that. Of course, they play Sweden, spicy, Finland and Sweden on Saturday. USA and Canada play on Saturday. I would guess, now nobody's called and told me this, but I'm guessing we would see Lankinen in net on Saturday against Sweden. But, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And to be clear, because this is something that gets misinterpreted a lot, people are still going to think this, so I don't even know why I'm wasting my breath, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Do it.
If you put in a new goalie, it doesn't mean that there were 6 goals scored against Finland because Juuse Saros was bad in goal. It means that, kind of like you said, get him a palate cleanse, because that was not fun for him, getting shelled behind a terrible defense, which again has happened quite a bit this year for him.
Yeah.
So get him a palate cleanse, get someone else in there. Taking him out of the starter spot is not saying you cost us the game.
Bad. Yeah.
It's not saying you cost us the game. It's saying, hey, you had a rough night and it's not entirely your fault, but we're going to, do you a solid and let you sit this one out.
Yeah. So many people, that's one of the stats that people are pulling in their criticism of Saros in Nashville is, well, how many times has he gotten pulled? We'll deal with that. We're going to talk about that in the next segment, because we just have some things that we're going to say. Do want to say that lots of chat going on with the insiders and the insider program during the Four Nations. We're having so much fun with it. Dustin just had a question, and I thought this was valid because, of course, before, during, and after the game, chatting with some of our insiders about Juuse Saros and Ned and the situation with Finland and da-da-da-da-da. And Dustin says, from the eye test, is Hellebuck that much better than Saros, or was it because Team USA is that much better than the Finns? How would you answer that?
I really think that, I mean, again, it's probably going to sound like I'm biased, but I mean, I have the utmost respect for Connor Hellebuck, and he's one of the best to ever do it, truly. However, I think that there were several factors working in his favor, not saying that he didn't have to try or make an effort, because he did. But I mean, the Finns style of game is nothing like USA's. And the US was fast. They were pushing the pace. They were going up and down the ice. Again, the Finns don't have a Kachuk, Eichel, Kachuk line. Like, they don't. That's not their game. And even their big names, like the guys who should have been sort of the stars on offense for Finland.
Let's talk about that. Say it.
Sebastian Aho, Mikko Rantanen, like the
Patrick
big guns. Patrick Laine, Teuvo Teravainen, like the big guns did nothing. They did nothing. And so, like, again, you're only going to get so far when you're, we say this all the time about the Predators. You need your top guys to be your top guys. Well, Finland's top guys were not their top guys against the US, and it showed. And so I think they have that working for them. I think also, like you mentioned, very porous defense on the Finnish side behind that top pairing. They really did not have much else. And I think, again, you're missing Miro Heiskanen quite a bit from Dallas there. But yeah, it's, again, I don't mean this to be a criticism of Hellebuck or to say he didn't have to try, like it was easy for them. Like it wasn't. But I think that Finland was just simply not the better team. Like,
they were
plain and simple.
outmatched.
Yes.
They just were outmatched.
Yeah. And not even just in the way they played, because sometimes, after an NHL game, you're like, well, they were the better team tonight. It's like, no, this was not tonight. Like, US is the better team. Like, full stop. So, I mean, yeah, I think that that's more how I would evaluate it.
I texted you last night after the game, our good friend Armando Velez, who's the host of Locked On Florida Panthers, big Kachuk guy, God bless him. He tweeted out, Hintz, Rantanen, Laine, and Aho all combined for one shot on goal tonight for Finland. And I texted that to Emma last night and said, adding them to my invisible backpack of hockey grudges for the tournament. Like, come on, you all. We have seen Saros bear the weight of top guys not playing like top guys. And this is what you do to our goaltender, who already is like, oh my gosh, unhappy.
I would say, and look, at the end of the day, it's the goaltender's job to stop the pucks. So technically every goal is his fault. However, I would say that if you look at, the plays that lead to the goals, which a lot of people like to not do for some reason, they just look at the puck going in the net. Well, it's Saros' fault. Okay. Yep. If you, take a couple steps back and look at the play developing before the puck goes in the net.
Yeah.
I would say of the 6 goals that Team USA scored, I would say confidently 2, maybe 3 of them were on Saros. Maybe 3, confidently 2. There were 2 that he would have liked to have back.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I'm sure he'd like to have all of them back. But the point is, I think that, if you look at the play, the defensive breakdowns leading up to the goals, that to me is more, like you're leaving your goalie out to dry when you're doing that. So, and
Amish
like you said,
laundry,
the fact,
friends, Amish laundry last night.
Yeah. And the fact that there was no offense from Finland also not great.
Yeah. It was not great. Coming up, we're going to tell you the one thing that we heard via Elliot Friedman that has us maybe a little bit concerned about something else besides Juuse Saros' on-ice play. We'll tell you what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there is no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. You'll be using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether you're backing your team for a late-game rally or you're picking a player to hit a clutch 3, you'll never feel like you missed your chance. Plus, the app is so easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Emma, Elliot Friedman, NHL insider, the guy who knows all of the stuff, was on 1025 yesterday with Willie Donick, D Mace, and Adam Vignon. And he said something that I was like, okay, about Juuse Saros. This is what Elliot Friedman had to say after visiting and hanging out with Team Finland, being around the Finnish locker room. This is what he said. Some of the talk around Team Finland here is that this is going to be perfect for him, talking about Juuse Saros, because I think he, like one of the players was saying, they can kind of tell he's like in shock by how bad Nashville's season has been, and it's really worn on him. Look, he got a big contract. He deserved it, but he wants to earn it and he wants to win. That jumped out at me, Emma, for a couple reasons. Number one, I think Juuse Saros is taking a lot of heat in the sports media landscape around here. And look, this is what I will say. When you have a season like Nashville is having right now, absolutely everything has to be looked at with a very exacting and very hard look. I call it a hocktopsy. You got to do a hockey autopsy because something died in that locker room this year, and it is not being resurrected in any sort of postseason run. So I do think you need to look at everything, and that does include your goaltender, who has a new contract set to kick in next season. But I am really surprised by the number of people who are doing the whole short-sighted, we need to trade Saros before the contract kicks in. And I'm just saying, what if hypothetically there was somebody who picked a stat, just one number, and tweeted it out and said, see, this is why from a 60-minute game, this stat tells us that we need to get rid of Juuse Saros. A couple of things I want to say to that. Number one, pull 60 minutes out of a season where I think he's played like 2,800 minutes. That doesn't tell you anything. The other thing I will say, let's put stats aside, even though we could quote stats like Nashville's 4th in defensive zone turnovers, 9th in turnovers altogether. They are dead last in shots. They are not producing goals, any sort of goal support. I mean, you could go through stat. But let's set all of that aside, Emma. And all of us, listeners, Emma, me, let's just collectively eye test this season. Think back to these 54 games, Emma. And when you think of these games, and you and I have watched every single minute of every single game, without fail, y'all, without fail, we've seen every minute. When you eye test this, is the first or even second, and I would even go third thing that you go, oh, about, is it, oh, Juuse Saros? No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've said it before, and I will continue to say it as long as this ridiculous, narrative keeps going. If you think that Juuse Saros is one of the top 3, I'll even go top 5 reasons that this Predators team has been so bad this year, then you are not watching the games. You are not watching. And quite frankly, I don't take into account the opinions of people who don't watch the games, because if you're just going to pick a number that fits your narrative and run with it, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not giving that the time of day. Yeah. Because Juuse Saros has, if you just look at him individually, he has been the same elite level goaltender he's always been. And I know the numbers aren't elite. I'm not saying he's winning a Vezina this year, but I'm saying that this is also a goaltender who is used to playing behind a very solid defensive core.
Yes.
And this is, Nashville, like, yes, you can go back to obviously John Hines hockey versus Andrew Brunette hockey, like a lot more defensive first versus offensive first. But even going back further than that, further than John Hines, like, this is an organization that has kind of built itself on drafting and developing excellent defensemen. And now they're all gone except Roman Josi. You have Roman Josi, and that's it. That
Yeah.
is it. I mean, yes, you're getting Adam Wilsby is here and he's a good, but he's new. Like, we're not expecting him to come in and save the defense, but like, you have Adam Wilsby, you've got Del Gaizo and Stastny too. But I mean, again, you don't have, Matthias Ekholm, and you don't have,
That's huge. Yeah.
it's just like this, the defense has been so bad. And not even just the defensemen, but the defensive play of the forwards has been so bad. And I have a story coming out next week. I talked to Steven Stamkos for a long time for a story for the Hockey News, where he's talking about the system. We always talk about the system and why is it so hard, this like nebulous idea that, we can't grasp. And a lot of it is talking about the defensive play in front of the goalie and how it's just, it's just different, and it's so hard to kind of adjust to. And so I think that, again, if you want to put it all on one person because that's convenient and that's easy for you, then go ahead. But you're wrong.
It's a poor narrative. We always
It's a lazy
talk.
narrative.
It is.
It's an extremely lazy narrative.
It is. And we talk about, statistics and the value of statistics. Again, Booger McFarland, my husband's an analyst. He loves this quote. Booger McFarland says, statistics are like a bikini. It reveals a lot, but not everything. When you see a tweet that quotes one number from 60 minutes of over 2,000 moments played in a game, that reveals as much truth as Mima's modesty swim dress. Okay, you're not even in a one piece. Okay, it's story time. And look, has he played with good defense in front of him? Yes, for a lot of his career he has. That doesn't mean that Saros is well, he's just probably an average goaltender then, and the defense has been good. You have to have both. If you want to win the hardest trophy to win in sports, it has to be a full it's got to be a full team contribution event. You need scoring, but you need good defense in front of the goaltender, and you need the goaltender to be good. So it's not like, well, if they can get the defense in order, they can just go with on and in, which, by the way, we're going to say that's a whole nother podcast. Well, that's a whole nother podcast. But
I also think too that, when you're looking at talking about like, oh, if you just get the defense in order, it'll be fine. I mean, how many times, even in you don't even have to look farther back than like the last 2 years.
yes,
How many times were we saying Juuse Saros bailed this team out?
Stole a
Juuse
game.
Saros dragged us into the fight. Juuse Saros stole this game, stole part of this season. I mean, he was a Vezina finalist, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
3 years ago? I just think that, like, again, it's incredibly lazy to decide that now all of a sudden he's a bad goalie.
Yeah.
When,
yeah.
like, nothing, I mean, again, if you're watching the games, you're not saying that he's the problem. And I definitely, to Elliot's point, I think we've all noticed how much this is wearing on him. And I don't think that should be viewed as a knock against him. I'm like, he's probably had enough. He's had enough. And and I don't mean that to say like he's showing like he's quitting or he's giving up.
Not at all.
He's frustrated, and like, good Lord, we are too. And I think that looking at, that the Pittsburgh game, remember when he started getting into it with Sidney Crosby and then was yelling at the ref? I'm like, wellness check on Juuse Saros right now. Like, this is he having an out of body experience? Because I don't know what's happening. Like, it is clearly wearing on him. It's wearing on all of them. But I mean, how, like, to me, this is like when you are doing a group project at school and you do your part super well, but everyone else drops the ball, no one else does their job, and so you get an F. And that is incredibly frustrating, because you're like, I tried, like, I did my part, no one else is doing theirs. So I think that, again,
it's a great analogy.
Like, yes, it's a team sport. Yes, I'm not saying that he's been perfect all season, and nothing is ever his fault. But if you're looking at big picture more than just 60 minutes, he is not the problem.
Yeah.
He is not the problem.
He's not the problem. I will say this, one of the biggest problems that I worry about, you know how I worry, when I look at this Nashville Predators team, one of the biggest concerns that I have is how are they going to get out of this mental place? And I'm not just talking about Juuse Saros. And like you said, this is not a locker room where they're walking around like, woe is me. I just quit. I just can't. Like, there is none of that. But there's not a player in that locker room that is not shocked by what is going on and that is not clawing their way, trying to get back to a better mental place to find success on the ice. And I think that is going to be Andrew Brunette's biggest challenge going forward with this team for the remainder of the season. We'll see what happens.
And again, like if you think that goaltending is the problem, then I don't know what you're watching. And for as frustrated as the fans are, as frustrated as we are, nothing. Drop in the bucket compared to what these guys are feeling. So, because this is their livelihood. That's what I don't think, like, sometimes I feel like fans get a little too entitled, a little too like, be better for us. Like, we pay for that. Yes, you do pay, and like you deserve to get a good quality for what you pay for. But like, this is their livelihood. Like, these guys are frustrated as well. They are not giving up. They are not, like you said, they're not just woe is me. Like, ho-hum.
No,
It's
they
like,
want this to turn around.
and they're trying. It's not just want it like they're sitting and like, well, any day now it'll turn around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, they are trying.
They are working. They are working. They are working, and it's not coming. And I get why that's frustrating. But again, when you hear a narrative like that about Juuse Saros, just start with the eye test. When you look back at this season and you have watched a majority of the games, is the play of Juuse Saros the thing that jumps out at you as the big problem? I bet it's not. Coming up, we're going to turn the page. We're going to cleanse our own palate. Friends, we're going to play a fun Valentine's Day themed game of Takes from a Hat. You heard us talking earlier on the show about one of our Locked On Predators insiders, Dustin. We chat all of the time, post-podcast, pre-podcast, with our Locked On Predators insider community. It's a great place to connect with Emma and I outside of YouTube or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This is where we love to talk about questions, things that we've heard. We love to get topic ideas. We love to hear what you all are thinking about the team as well. If you are interested in joining our Locked On Predators insider community via subtext, you can find all that information in the link in our bio or in the description of this video. All right, Emma, it is time for a little fun after a very tense beginning to this podcast. And I have here, it doesn't even fit, the greatest piece of hockey swag, the 10-gallon foam hat. And in it, I have put a couple of Valentine-themed questions relating mostly to hockey. One of them's about chocolate, because that is important too. Are we ready, Emma?
Oh, give it to me.
Okay, here we go. Which one Nashville Predators player's departure would be the worst breakup?
Roman Josi.
I would have to say I agree.
Close to Philip Forsberg too. Like, that would be pretty bad as well. But Roman Josi, I think, does too much for this team that he doesn't even get acknowledged for half the time. So I'm gonna go Roman Josi.
Yeah. I think it would be devastating to lose Roman Josi. Hey, I just wanted to throw this out there. Speaking of defensemen, and because this is a little bit locked on Mark Del Gaizo, just want to shout out the Milwaukee Admirals. Last night, Mark Del Gaizo, 2 goals because he just can't be stopped. The Milwaukee Admirals were down 4-1 in the second period, came back and beat Springfield 5-4, scoring the game-winning goal with 2 seconds remaining. Oh, you all. I can hardly contain it. It was such a great game. So shout
We
out
are
to Mark.
locked on. We are locked on Mark Del Gaizo here.
We really are. We would really love to see him back here. We're waiting. Okay, here's just a general fun little Valentine's one. What do you love most about the sport of hockey?
Honestly, I think it's the people. Hockey people are a different breed. And I can't, like, you don't fully understand it. And it's hard to explain unless you're in it.
Mhm.
But I mean, as someone who, like, I didn't play hockey growing up, so in a lot of sports and in a lot of industries, I think you would kind of get treated as like an outsider, or you don't get treated as like part of the team or part of the family because that's, you didn't kind of go through the same things. But like, if you were part of a team in any capacity, like, those guys will go to war for you. And
Mhm.
I think that that's really special. And it's something, like, some of the best people that I have met have been through hockey.
Yeah. I would agree with that. That's such a good answer. Mine is much less introspective and wise. I love the sensory experience of hockey. Like, I love the sound of hockey. Like that, I know it sounds crazy. In the off season before, we get like dev camp and rookie camp and then get into training camp. The thing that I miss the most is the sound of hockey, because there's no other sound quite like the sound of hockey. And I just feels like music to me. But I also love the air temperature of hockey, except for the one rink at Centennial, y'all. Rink B at Centennial is ridiculous. Like, penguins and polar bears would not survive. It's too cold. Ridiculous. I don't know what's going on there. But I just think hockey is such a cool sensory sport. Like, there's something, I just love that. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that about
true.
hockey.
I do too. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Thank you. All right. Okay, here's one non-hockey related, but let's talk about things that are real. A traditional Valentine's Day gift is a box of chocolates. I got chocolate Reese's Hearts today from my husband. God bless.
I did too.
Oh,
Not from
man.
your husband, but
okay.
I
I was like, oh, he's so generous. Look at him. Yeah. Oh, we have men in our life with great taste. What is your favorite type of chocolate from a Valentine's box of candy? Like the Whitman sampler heart kind of things. Like, do you have a favorite chocolate? Or even, is there one in there that you're like, oh, hell no?
I'm gonna go. They're like the ones, the truffly ones that have like so I'm a dark chocolate fan. I
Yes.
like milk chocolate too, but dark chocolate is my jam. But the ones that have it's like chocolate with like chocolate filling almost.
Yes.
I don't know if it's not mousse. What's the
I know exactly the
truffly,
one yes,
like,
truffly dark chocolate. It's not
and it just
liquid, it's not
no,
chewy,
but it melts in your mouth.
yes.
Like that. I like those. Those are probably my favorites.
Those are good. I like the caramels.
Mm-hmm.
The chocolate caramels. My dad was a school teacher for 35 years. And of course, at Christmas time, his students, one of the things that he would get a lot of were the Whitman samplers, the sample boxes of chocolates. And my dad used to get so frustrated because when we were kids, instead of like, you can pick up the thing and it'll tell you like, this one is this flavor. We would pick up the candy and poke our finger in the bottom of it and see what
I mean, that's
there
better
was.
than biting it in half, I guess. But I don't know.
Seriously, I thought, but yeah, because there was like, I don't like the mint ones in those samplers. I don't like the ones that have the orange. Like, that's
Yeah,
just
no, some of them straight up just feel like they're filled with toothpaste. I'm like, yeah, no.
no, thank you. Like, happy
I do
Valentine's Day.
like,
Here's some Crest.
yeah, like go clean yourself up. I do think sometimes they have like the raspberry filled ones. I do like those. Those are good.
Amazing. Oh, that's a good one. All right, real quick. We'll just do one more real quick. Oh, this is a fun one. Contracts, salary cap, all those nagging details aside, which player at Four Nations that we've seen play so far would you love to have on the Predators roster?
Why do I want to
Don't you
say
say it.
Sidney Crosby just to piss you off?
You can say it. You can say it. Say it. If it's what's in your heart on Valentine's Day, you can say it, and I won't. I'll just smile.
No.
You can say it. That's hilarious, though.
I'm just petty like that. I'm
I
sorry.
love it.
I mean, I wouldn't not want to have him on the roster, just saying, but I think I don't know, just instead of that, just to play nice in the sandbox, I will go with Jack Eichel. Because he is a very skilled centerman. He's in the prime of his career right now.
Yeah.
And I think that his playmaking ability, I think that his game would fit well in the Andrew Brunette system that the Predators play.
I bet Marchessault would love that.
And we know, obviously, they desperately need center depth. So
it'd be so amazing. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
You know, this is such an odd random answer. I mean, first of all, like Nathan McKinnon. I mean, that it's like saying Sidney Crosby. Just Nathan McKinnon would love that. Connor McDavid would love that. But here's the under the radar one, and this was from last night. Matt Boldy. I really like him. I really like him. He seems to always play well against Nashville. I think he's just like young talent, just like we're just scraping the surface of what this kid is going to be able to do. I think he's going to be like a big impact player, but yeah. How about that? Well, everybody,
this team has played the way the Predators have played this year. I'm like, I'll take any of them.
Anybody.
Give me what you got.
Who's got a pulse? Who's got a pulse? Yeah. Who likes to shoot the puck?
Yeah.
Oh, bless. Y'all, there is plenty of Four Nations action coming up this weekend. Saturday, doubleheader. Don't miss it. I believe it's noon and 7:00. Sweden, Finland. We might get to see live coach Kevin Lankinen. Of course, we're going to see Philip Forsberg, probably Gus Nyquist, but we'll see. They may rotate him in or out. And then Saturday night, USA versus Canada. That's going to be, y'all, so much spice.
That's going to be even better for Predators fans because they don't have to have their allegiances split because they don't have players on USA or Canada.
Right.
So you can just enjoy.
Enjoy the experience.
Yes.
So great. Be tuned in for that. Of course, we're going to talk about those games on Monday's show. We're going to continue talking about this season. We are also going to have a fun little crossover with some of our Central Division rivals. It's going to be absolutely humiliating for me because at the beginning of the season, we met and talked about what we thought was going to happen this season. Yeah. Tune in for that.
In fairness, I don't think you were the only one who thought the Predators were going to be doing a little better this year. So
I wasn't, but now I have to come up with an explanation. And those of you who are everydayers know it is nebulous to nail down at best. But yeah, tune in for that. We've got some great shows coming up next week. And of course, the week after that, hockey is coming back. It's been kind of a fun Four Nations break, but we'll be back ready to talk about what's going on with this Nashville Predators team down the road. Before we sign off today, Emma, where can everyone find you and your work?
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen. This weekend, you can find me in Massachusetts snuggling my nephew.
Let's go.
And you can also find my work at the Hockey News. Special plug, news story dropped this morning. Kind of in-depth profile on Nick Blankenburg. Really interesting story for those of us who have been through this Predator season so far. Could probably use a nice feel-good story. So if you're looking for that, head over to the Hockey News. Check out my story about Nick Blankenburg.
Love that. Love that. You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. This weekend, I will be snuggling my grandson. It's not grandson weekend, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time with my grandson. It's going to be amazing. Emma and I are going to get like our little snuggle fixes. And you can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. That is going to do it for this week's episodes of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget, we will be back Monday, all new episode. We'll see you then.